Hi, I'm Mr. E, and in today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make perhaps the most nutritious and delicious scrambled egg meal you can make. I have this every morning if I can do it. But first thing you'll notice is the staging. That was the main concern and the main problem I was having lately is having enough room and space for cooking shows. And I didn't, and that was very problematic to have to clear out stuff and clean stuff and this and that every time. So instead, I rigged it like this, where I'm using my webcam from my computer, and I've got a little table mounted in the front of the camera, and that's where I do all the cooking shows. We're going to need some onion. Now, there's all kinds of ways to cut it, and the experts will do it even faster and in a real sleight of hand manner. I can't do that. But I will tell you that, this technique that is kind of neat, where you score the onion on its face. In other words, you cut a checkerboard design on it like that. I'm not going to do it like that. And then every time you take a slice, it comes out little cubes the size of the checkerboard that you made. So that's kind of neat. The way I like to do it, that I find to be perhaps faster than any way I found, is to use a slicer. So I use a slicer like this. I go ahead and slice it up. Get about less than a handful. You don't need a handful. A little less than that. Okay, once you got it sliced up like that, then you can go ahead and slice it the other way. So I grab it like this and I go like that. Slice, slice at the size that you want. You don't want any long length, and the reason for that is because it's easier to cook. And there, we've got the amount of onion that we need to add to our scrambled egg mixture. The same thing applies with the green bell pepper. Fancy chefs will cut it up in a fancy manner, just like I said about the onions. I'll do the same technique. I'll slice it with a slicer to thin size. Like I said, less than a handful. Okay, that ought to be enough. Now I'm going to slice it smaller, shorter actually. It might be a better term. There, that's enough. Now you can stop at any point as far as adding vegetables to your mixture, but it makes it less nutritious and perhaps less delicious. So at this point, when I first started, I used canned vegetables, but I had always read that frozen vegetables are the most nutritious form of vegetables. So I went out and bought mixed vegetables in a freezer pack. More or less, this is what they look like. And the instructions in general would be to put it in the microwave without making a hole in it for 5 minutes. That's the initial step to initially defrost it. And then from then on, you can use it by just popping it in the microwave for a minute to help defrost it some more every time you're going to use it. And then take what you want and fold it back up and put it back in the freezer. So it'll last a long time. It's never rotted or anything like that in the amount of time that I used. I used it up before it ever turned rancid. But anyway, this is what it looks like before I open it. I have one that's open already here on the side, and I'm going to go ahead and nuke this for a minute. Well, actually, I would have nuked it for a minute, but it just so happened that I accidentally left it out in the refrigerator instead of the freezer. So other than the fact that I have to check to see if it's still good by smelling it, I'm going to go ahead and take it out. Like I said, normally you would take your pack and put nuke it for a minute to get it unthawed, take what you want, wrap it back up, and put it back in the freezer. That's how I use it. So, like I said, it's already thawed accidentally. I think that it will wind up being still delicious, not rancid. Sure enough, it's good. So I'm going to pour some of this into the mixture. Again, less than a handful. You want to make it, if you see that it's kind of colorful all the way through, then you've got enough of that vegetable mix in there. Fold it back up, tie it with a rubber band, and put it back in the freezer. As far as spicing it up, there are various things you could do, various things you could add, but the basics are that salt and garlic together makes almost anything, especially vegetables, taste absolutely delicious. So you'll want to add that. I'm going to add it in a certain way. Of course, black pepper also helps out a lot in many cases. Some people may not want the heat that black pepper brings. But I'm going to go ahead and spread this out flat. And I'm going to divide it in half. You don't have to use your finger to divide. I'm doing it for the video only, but just to show you. Divide it in half, and what you normally put in salt over the whole mixture, you're only going to put it on half the mixture. Why? Because I'm practicing the 50% rule. That is, if you salt half the mixture with the regular amount of salt, and then later on mix it together, you've got 50% of the salt that you normally use, which is quite good. So I'm going to go ahead and salt half of it. Okay, that's done. And now the garlic part of it, that goes over the whole thing, so that doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The thing about garlic is you can put it almost as much as you want. You're not going to overdo it. Now I'm going to put the pepper. And got to watch the pepper because it will get too spicy, too peppery, and then you may not want to eat it or have a distaste for it. So that goes over the whole thing because you're not trying to cut that in half. Now you're going to mix it together. Excuse me using my fingers, so they're clean, they're fine. Okay, I'm going to mix it together. This is where it's so important to mix it properly because your 50%'s got to go all over the place. So make sure it's mixed properly. And now you're ready to saute the vegetables. At this point, actually, I've known in the past, not too long ago, I put chopped mushrooms in there. You can put whatever you want in there that might add to its nutritional or taste. But now you're ready to saute the vegetables. And now to heat the oil up so that I can saute or fry the vegetables. Now, I had already done it before. This is the second time I'm doing this because, and so the steps will be different. I'm going to show you a simulation of me putting the oil in there. I squirt the oil enough to have a layer of the oil. I use extra virgin olive oil because that's what's recommended for health. Uh, And later on, when I add the egg, I want to tell you that I'm using a warmed up egg. That is, the egg has not been in the refrigerator. And the reason for that is because my boiled egg maker is fouling up. It does not heat long enough or hot enough. So if the egg is cold, it won't cook it enough. So I put the eggs outside so that they'll be warm whenever I want to cook a boiled egg, which is every day. Now, it turns out that they say there's no problem with leaving the eggs outside. In some countries, they never put the eggs in the refrigerator. They're always outside in a basket. Also, I usually don't use a regular egg. I'm going to do it this time for the sake of the video. But I usually use an egg white liquid because it has no cholesterol, and that's what I want. So that's what I usually use. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use a regular egg, like I said. Start off really hot. I mean, it's going. And this is ready to take the incoming vegetables. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put the vegetables in there. Wasn't ready for that either because I don't have any splatter control for the table. So the table might wind up a little splattered before it's all over with. Yep, it's hotter than I expected. It looks like it lacks control because on the other side of it is supposed to be hotter. I don't see how you can get it any hotter. But in this case, for the video, I'm just going to go ahead and use an egg. It's browned enough as far as I'm concerned. Now I want to break the egg in there and start mixing it as quick as I can to get a good result. Okay, I don't need to put any salt. It'll have enough salt for the egg too. I want to go ahead and start mixing it in so that all the vegetables will have a coating of egg in it. That's my intent. Stirring it up, holding it down so it won't fall off. I don't need any more accidents. I eat one of these. I try to eat one of these every morning for breakfast. I think it's super nutritious and it's very tasty. cover it up for a little bit, a few seconds. Okay, I can't turn it off. It's virtually off already. All I can do is unplug it, so I'll go ahead and unplug it because it's done enough cooking. And then I'll plate it because it is done. It may have a lot of oil, olive oil, but with your understanding that olive oil is good for you anyway, so it's not a big deal. There's ways to drain it if you wanted that. Now, I highly recommend that at this point, to make it even tastier and more nutritious, pour some bean soup over it, or like I prefer it, but I say it like that because it's some people get, including me, get grossed out when you say put the egg in the bean soup because automatically you think this is a gory thing, egg floating in a soup. So I say it that way. Either way, whatever way you want to think about it, but it tastes great with bean soup poured over it.